Can you hear us?
Okay,
right up now. All right, so we'll get started in just a couple of minutes. Need to settle in a little bit. Did everybody get their copy of the Constitution and the evaluation?
Good man.
Both very important. We really want to be accountable here for if this seems like a useful thing for you. And we'll definitely read your comments. Okay, let's get started then. In a second, we're gonna do the Pledge of Allegiance, but I want to make a little comment about that first. Remember, a lot of times when we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, or even more so, if we're going to sing the Star Spangled Banner together, we're going to be cheering on a team. Meaning, there's two sides to the team, and we want a particular outcome, and we're enthused more about one side than the other. But we are sportsmen, right? We're civic. We're well behaved. And that is really the tone that I would like to set tonight. Say what you need to say. You'll be listened to. You'll be respected. We have a wonderful panel of people with a lot of expertise that will be able to help you with a lot of your questions. Okay, so let's stand and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance then. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now just something very quick on the concept of the town hall. I'm sure you all know that it was part of the origination of this country, that people were meeting with their representatives, they were interacting with their representatives. It was a regular part of civil life several centuries ago. We want to reinstitute that, and it seems that there is a national movement towards that. The big goal being every district in the country will have a monthly town hall, and we're going to call it Town Hall Night in America. So we are Wayne County Voices, that's us, a nonpartisan group. We're going to do our part, and you guys are really helping us to do our part. And I thank you very much for that. Emily, you were going to come forward and say something.
Hi everyone, I'm Emily Herrick. I'm one of the folks that helped organize this town hall. And we're just so happy that people came out. This is our second one. We have maybe, I think, more people than we had last time. We did one in June in Galilee, and we didn't have any speakers there. We just had our neighbors come out and share a little bit about some of the programs that are around here, who they are, what they're doing, what their questions are. And this time we have wonderful panelists that have joined us. But before we turn it to introduce them, we want you to all introduce yourselves to each other. So not a ton of time, just 2 minutes. Turn to the people around you that you maybe don't know. Say hello. Tell people where you're coming from. Where are you coming from? Citizens together, we want to have, debate, but we want it to be useful debate with resolution. And so, again, thank you so much for being here. Now, there's a couple things I want. We're going to be introducing a civics course in Honesdale. And Barb, it's a very good idea. Where's Barb?
I'm coming.
Here she is.
I'm so excited.
This is the lady who knows all about civics.
Well, I don't know all about civics, and I realized, I'll use my cafeteria voice, I think you can all hear me, right? I'm very excited to bring this 4-week, 1-hour class every Tuesday. And with the help of the Sturbridge Tech Hub, Commissioner, and their technology, along with Workforce Alliance, we have the classroom space. So if you want to come in person, you can, but it's also going to be on Zoom. So from the comfort of your home, you could take our civics course, which is roles, rights, and responsibilities. It's all about the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, our branches of government, our judicial system, and our voting rights. So please join. It's a wonderful review. I've been having fun putting it together, and I've had a lot of input from others. I do have a master's degree in curriculum design. You might want to talk to me.
I'll get an application tonight. You're hired.
So keep it in mind, October 7th on Tuesdays. The last class though, Honesdale's having the Halloween parade on Tuesday night. So the very last class is backing up to Monday the 27th instead of the 28th. And then we go into vote. So it's a beautiful thing. Please join us. I would love it. And then if it's a success, what we're going to do is go a little deeper in the next series. So keep your eye open. You can just scan this barcode and register. And it's exciting. So thank you. And thank you for being here.
Emily, you stood up. Did you have something else to
I was
say?
just gonna say, there's flyers in the back if you are interested, so grab one on your way out.
Where is it? No, the classes.
Oh, is it the Tech Hub in Homesdale? It used to be the Starbridge School, I believe.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful spot. It's really cool. Okay, now next, Ryan, if you'd come forward. Ryan's going to speak to us about some mutual aid ideas they have, ways to generate some resources for people. This is Ryan.
Hello. Hello, everybody. Thank you. My name is Ryan. Our mutual aid group is called Nobody Homesdale. The basics are we meet every Saturday at noon at the Fred Miller Pavilion. Sorry. We have a sign-up sheet back there. We send one email out a week, kind of giving the basics of what we did the week before and what we're looking to do this week. We collect personal care items for people and food items. We've been partnering up with St. Lutheran's Church in Homesdale to collaborate with them on their food distribution with the food pantry, and we've started doing a hot meal distribution with them 2 weeks in a row now. Really what we're seeing is a lot of need for this type of stuff, both at the pavilion in person. When we connect with the churches, it's going faster. So what we're hearing from a lot of the food pantry helpers and things are, they've always helped in the past and they still help now, but they're even needing the material foods themselves. So yeah, that's the basics of us. We got a table back there with some printed materials. Like I said, sign up for our email list. Ask us some questions about some mutual aid, but Saturday at noon at the Fred Miller Pavilion. And we've got our email address back there if you want to have any other questions. Thank you.
Now, one last thing before we get into introducing our illustrious guests is there's a lot of neighbors here. So we did one of the town halls up in Galilee, and then we're doing this as our second one. If anybody knows of another site, because we want to kind of bounce around the area so it's easier for people not to have to drive so far. So if anybody can think of something, has that in mind, you could approach me or one of the people with a name tag, and we'll be in touch about that. Okay, no hands up right now, but
Anybody with a fire hall or?
yeah. Okay, now I'm going to bring Margaret up, and she's going to introduce the first two of our guests, people that she knows personally. So, Margaret, you can take it on.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Margaret Zalon, and I'm going to first introduce Mr. Jim Pettinato. And he didn't know when I asked him that he'd be first up, but anyway. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Wayne Memorial Health System and also Wayne Memorial Hospital. The health system also includes now Barnes Kaysen, Wayne Woodlands Manor, and numerous community-based clinics and centers in 5 northeastern PA counties. Mr. Pettinato is a native of Carbondale. He received his BSN and his Health Sciences Administration degree from Marywood University. He began his career at Community Medical Center and then joined Wayne Memorial in 1999 and progressed in successive leadership positions until he was appointed CEO in 2021. Under his leadership, there has been tremendous growth in the health system's services, including the establishment of a women's health clinic in Pike County, the acquisition of Barnes-Cason, expansion of cardiology services, opening of a brand new neurology suite at Wayne Memorial just 2 weeks ago. And additionally, the system has established a Mid-Valley office offering a variety of services. And he's very proud to have led Wayne Memorial in ranking 3rd in Soliant Health's most beautiful hospital ratings, an accomplishment for a small community hospital, I would say. If you're beautiful, you're clean. So they are, Wayne Memorial is one of the top 20 hospitals in Pennsylvania for cleanliness, and this comes from CMS, which is Medicare, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, HCAPS program. And so we are very proud, and clearly Mr. Pettinato has worked hard to provide healthcare services to the people of Northeast Pennsylvania. So please welcome Mr. Pettinato.
Thanks, Margaret. Yeah, I was going to follow the next speaker just to make sure I got it right, so that's obviously not going to work for me. Thank you for the warm welcome. You know, I always say it's you can't really sit at the top unless you have a good team behind you, and I'm really proud to say we have a very good team at Wayne Memorial. They've really helped accomplish these goals over the last couple of years, and I can't forget about all those folks that came before us that really built the building blocks to give us that opportunity to be able to build on them. And we also can't do it without the community, and the community support has just been phenomenal. So thank you for that before I start. In looking through some of the questions and preparing for tonight, let's talk about, what's the role, what are your responsibilities? I think, the obvious ones, as Margaret mentioned, is obviously administering the healthcare system and being responsible for it. I do see the role being a little bit different today than probably any of my predecessors, and it's bigger than just operating and directing the healthcare system locally. It's really preserving rural healthcare. A little bit of history in Pennsylvania. Less than 6 years ago, there was about 66 small hospitals or small hospital systems. 6 years later, folks, we're down maybe to the high 50s, mid 50s, because hospitals have closed. Pennsylvania is largely rural. No one system really right now can stand alone. I don't care how big they are. They need an ecosystem. We all, as healthcare providers, need to work together. While we might be in competition with one another over services and what we do, the reality is our main primary goal is to take care of you, the citizens in this Commonwealth. We have to do that together regardless of the competition. So I see the role really changed immensely in helping do things that preserve rural healthcare. Our board has given me a direction to remain independent. That's a really lofty goal. It's not just to be capitalistic independent, but it's to make sure that we can keep our healthcare decision-making local. Because we know what happens when healthcare decisions are made from faraway places. Capitalism sometimes interferes with the delivery of that healthcare. The competition sometimes gets in the way, occasionally, of doing the right thing. And we cannot let that happen. We have to help keep our hospitals open. We have to help keep services in rural communities because we know other social determinants of health, food, transportation, all are challenges. And if you don't have some of the basics, you can't even get to the level of healthcare. So one thing I really see as being a new challenge to this job is not only the responsibilities of the day-to-day activities, but working with our advocacy groups, the American Hospital Association, Hospital Association of Pennsylvania, who are all coming together, not for the good of just one hospital or hospital system, but for the good of the residents in this Commonwealth. It is very important that our voices in the rural communities are heard, or you will hear about a new term that's called a healthcare desert, okay? And that term even gets stretched into what's called a maternity desert, where women are going to deliver a baby, but they're an hour and a half away from a delivering hospital. Those are not safe things. We're already beginning to see impacts at Wayne Memorial of some of changes that have gone on in healthcare even over the last few years. And one of those is alarming in that more and more people are trying to deliver at home. Or they don't intend to deliver at home, but they wind up delivering long before they get to the hospital. That's a real indicator sometimes that they're not getting access to the services that they need. It's one thing when it's planned, and many mothers will plan a home birth. But when it's not planned, things can really go wrong. We deliver about 475 babies a year. Unfortunately, this year we've delivered 3 in the parking lot. I have been at Wayne Memorial since 1999, shy of a year or two sabbatical. And I can tell you in that entire time, till about 3 years ago, we might have delivered 1 baby or 2 babies in the parking lot. But we've delivered 3 this year, and we're not even through the year yet. So there is clearly things happening in the rural communities that we need to pay attention to, and that's just one small example. I am proud to say, and I'll pass on the mic to my colleagues here, Wayne Memorial and Wayne Memorial Health System has a voice both at the state level and at the national level. Our hospital was selected by the American Hospital Association to be one of 28 rural hospitals across the country that we have a voice with the lobbyists that are going to Washington. They are listening to our individual needs, and we are helping formulate what their plans should be when they're talking to our elected officials in Washington. We also have great relationships. And that's important to you and the support you give to the elected officials, right? You're the ones that empower them. We just have to be that voice. We really have an opportunity here to help steer some of the future healthcare decisions. Hospital Association of Pennsylvania with our state representatives, representative here tonight, they listen to them, they really do invest. So we have to make sure that we hear from you, so we know as well what you're looking for when we get those opportunities to talk to them, either at the state level or the national level. So again, I appreciate the warm welcome, thank you, and look forward to answering questions. Obviously, the big challenge we have before us this point is the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, and what impact that's going to have on healthcare, and I'm sure there'll be questions related to that as we go through the evening. I think I've used my 5 minutes, so I am going to move on.
Okay, so I'm happy to introduce Representative Bridget Malloy-Kozarowski. She represents the 114th District of the Pennsylvania House of Representatives that serves parts of Scranton and Clark Summit. She is a lifelong resident of northeastern Pennsylvania and a registered nurse. She received her BSN from Villanova University. Not only has Representative Kozarowski worked as an RN, but she knows firsthand what it's like to care for a child with a devastating illness and all the challenges associated with navigating our healthcare system. Since being elected in 2019, she's assumed progressively more responsible positions within the General Assembly. She's the Vice Chair of the House Professional Licensure Committee, Secretary of the Aging and Older Adult Services Committee, and Secretary of the Health Committee. She's also a member of the Appropriations, Policy, Insurance, and Rules Committees, as well as a member of several caucuses. Thus far, Representative Kozarowski has introduced 30 bills this legislative session. Some of these include protecting vaccine access, the use of artificial intelligence in healthcare, the nursing shortage, surprise billing for healthcare, denial of reimbursement, protecting older adults from abuse, vaccination rates in schools, and so forth. So she has used her healthcare expertise to protect the health and well-being of Pennsylvanians.
Thank you, Margaret, for that kind introduction. introduction, and you did Kazarowski very well. It's usually something that people ask me, how do you say your last name? They're going to introduce me, so I'm honored to be here tonight. I hail from Lackawanna County, so I'm all the way up here in Wayne County tonight, so thank you for having me. Yes, so my background, just a little bit about myself. I did grow up in Clark Summit, Pennsylvania. I'm the oldest of 6 kids. There's 5 girls and 1 boy in my family. I did go off to nursing school at Villanova University, where the Pope now, our Pope is a graduate of, I'm going to see if he'll endorse me for my next campaign. I don't know if that's going to work. The president of Villanova said no, that it's not happening. And I went to work at the University of Pennsylvania Hospital, and I worked there in Philadelphia for 15 years. My husband and I we went to the prom together, and then we went to Villanova together. We have this really boring history, and he finished law school, and we lived together in Philadelphia, and we had our first 2 kids when we lived in Philly, and then we moved back up to, after I had my baby number 2, I was like, Joe, we have to go home. I need my mother immediately. And he thought like he was gonna live in Philly and work in this big firm in Philadelphia. I'm like, no, we're going home. We're going back to Scranton. So Joe and I have 4 kids. And you did mention my oldest son, Jacob, who's healthy and great, and he's 24 years old, and we're really fortunate, but he did have childhood cancer. He had leukemia when he was a little boy. So it kind of gives me a unique perspective in my job now that I work in the House of Representatives. It gives me a kind of a unique perspective of what navigating insurance and the healthcare world, when he was a little boy at 4 years old, now 24, but little did I know that would serve me well in the position I have now. Worked at the University of Pennsylvania, then moved back to Scranton. I worked at CMC, the old CMC, which is now Geisinger, and ended up my career in an outpatient surgery center. It's called the Northeast Surgery Center in Dixon City. So that kind of nursing and that kind of background and that kind of environment with healthcare kind of gave me that perspective of what I get to do now. So I ran for office in 2019. The representative that represented my district, his name was Sid Kavulich. I don't know if anybody remembers Representative Sid Kavulich. He was kind of like a TV star too. He did all the sports, the local high school sports, which is huge in our area. So when he passed away unexpectedly from a cardiac issue, the seat opened, so it was a special election. I had no intention of ever doing anything in the political world. I was a nurse, I had 4 kids. That was not in my background. I didn't grow up in a family that was very politically active or government, active. I didn't, I say to people, I didn't even know when I was growing up as a little kid, I didn't know if my mom and dad were Republican or Democrat, because it wasn't something that was infused in every single part of their lives in our dinner conversations and televisions, whereas my children are growing up in this very polarized social media environment when it comes to politics. So we ran for office. I won the seat. I went to Harrisburg. I sat down in this magnificent, have any of you ever been to the state capitol in Pennsylvania? And anyone ever been able to get onto the House floor to see the House floor in the Senate? It's kind of a magnificent building. I was a little overwhelmed, drinking from the fire hose green, all those kind of things that they say about you when you're in a position that you're kind of, it's unknown. And I remember getting there and sitting in this magnificent building. It was a Monday morning, and for the last part of my career, the last 15 years of my career, I worked at a surgery center. And every Monday morning, I worked with a gentleman named Dr. Jay Bannon, who you know. And Jay Bannon did colonoscopies every Monday morning. So I was the colonoscopy nurse. So I thought, I'm sitting in this chair and I'm thinking, oh my God, this is so much nicer than the colonoscopy. I hope I ever always have this job. This is so nice now. So that was kind of my thought process until we really we hit the ground running, because I was elected and then shortly thereafter COVID hit. And that was hard. There was a lot of navigating that had to be done. There was a lot of negotiating that had to be done. But I'm grateful to be in this room because Roger and I think it was Emily, and what you're organizing and what you're doing, I think this is what we've gotten away from. Speaking into each other and having these town halls and having these gatherings and asking questions in a dignified manner, in a way that we can kind of negotiate and talk about things. I think it's healthy, so I applaud what you're doing here in Wayne County. Yes, thank you. So In Harrisburg, I serve on the committees that you spoke about, appropriations right down to health and insurance and professional license and aging. I'm fiercely protective of the aging population. We here in Pennsylvania have the third highest aging population, which is great, but we need lots of resources, and we have to pay attention to the shortfalls that we're facing as in long-term care. Hospitals that, you must know. I mean, Jim and I'm going to say Jim Pettinato and his amazing Wayne Memorial Hospital stole all our doctors from Scranton. They all left. All my foot surgeons left me. So when we talk about hospital acquisitions, closures, and the numbers, remind me, we had how many hospitals in Pennsylvania and the Commonwealth?
66 rural.
Yeah,
Now we're down to 50.
and it is a crisis. We are facing a crisis in closures and hospitals, especially, and especially something that the specialty of OBGYN. It's a hard practice to go into. There's a lot of litigation. It doesn't make a ton of money for a hospital, but we need them. And when you have a baby or a mom in crisis and we're sending them to Lehigh Valley from Scranton, they don't have time for that. That's why they end up in the parking lot and or at home, and that's dangerous. We have to do better, and we can do better. And there's lots of pieces of legislation that 30 bills is a lot, but at this point, we have a majority in the House where I serve by one, with 101 to 102 members. So negotiating is a huge, huge deal to get anything done. And then we have a Republican-held Senate. So you have to talk to each other, and you have to negotiate. I mean, I know the commissioner and the superintendent here, we have a state budget that we are in an impasse. We're supposed to pass in June. And now it's moving to October, and people are hurting, they're getting nervous, they don't have the funding, and it's scary. And then you talk about the federal level, and the state will not be able to. I will tell you right now, we are not going to be able to backfill these Medicaid cuts. We won't. We do not have the resources to do such. So we have a pathway moving forward that we're going to have to do some clever, creative ways to make sure that we take care of our most vulnerable population, and those are the people that I'm most focused on. So I'm really blessed in the job I get to do. I did call my friend Jonathan Fritz, the representative here, and I said, "Are you afraid of me? Are you afraid you're not coming tonight? Are you afraid of me?" So he is actually otherwise engaged. I did not know he can marry people. And he's an official, so he has a marriage tonight. So he wasn't able to make it here tonight. But he's the kind of guy that I get to serve with on the other side of the aisle. But he and I talk. We know our community, we know our constituents, and we know how to make things happen. Because if I want a bill to go through the House of Representatives, I need my Republican friends to make sure that we negotiate, we make sure the verbiage and the language is right, so that we can move it on to the Senate and get some support. Because that's the only way we're going to get anything done. And I wish it was better in Washington, D.C. I wish there was a better environment there for that to happen, but I have hope and faith that it will get better. I think our younger generation's paying attention. I think that we can turn the tide and make the environment a little bit better. So hopefully that's something that people like Jonathan Fritz and I can be examples for others to do that. So I'm really grateful for you having me here tonight. I'm looking forward to answering some of your questions, but the challenges they're no joke. In our Commonwealth we have lots of challenges, but I think you have a strong set of representatives that know how to get things done, to say it the best way. That's the only way we're going to be able to get things accomplished, is working together. So thanks for having me here tonight. I'm looking forward to
Oh, did you need this?
No, I thought that was, the nurses went first.
Now the other
That's
two.
Well, it is cool. I think everybody's used the word together. Everybody wants togetherness, so we have a common cause here. And we were, Representative Fritz was invited, as Bridget just said, and he wasn't able to make it. And Representative Bresnahan, we've tried to get him for the last two, and he's not been available. Either of those two, we're not giving up. We would really like to speak to Representative Bresnahan and others too. If we get what we're after, a regular town hall, even monthly, we'll get to speak to a lot of brilliant, useful, accountable people. Okay, now I'm going to introduce the next two of our speakers, and I don't have the advantage of knowing these people personally, so I just pretty much have to read something. So this is, I was going to do Brian first because he's next. Yeah, and Bridget made a joke about her last name, that's why I was so lucky I got Brian Smith, so I can manage that. Okay, so Commissioner Smith, graduate of Wayne Highlands School District, that's kind of cool. Continued, yeah, any more applause for that? Okay, continued his education at Penn State University, Worthington Stratton campus, obtained a degree in electrical engineering, technology, and also served as president of the American Society of Certified Engineering Technicians. Man, he looks the part too. He was hired directly out of college, worked for Newport News Shipping, building and dry dock company in Virginia, doing electronic design on nuclear submarines. He moved back to Wayne County and worked at Wayne Memorial Hospital for 7 years as a biomed technician. Brian married the former Amy Rickard in 1985 and started farming in Cherry Ridge on a small dairy farm. In '93, they moved to a bigger farm in Milanville, my town, in Damascus Township, where they now reside. They have 6 children: Chelsea, Jesse, Leslie, Wyman, Shelby, and Clarence, and 16 grandchildren.
Wow.
That's cool. What was that?
Christmas is fun.
Okay, here's what the boards that he serves on. He's chairman of the Board of Commissioners, the Lake Wallenpaupack Watershed Management District, Wayne Conservation District, Ag Land Preservation Board, the Prison Board, Board of Appeals for Tax Assessment, Retirement Board, Salary Board, Election Board, and WETCO. And we were able to get him here tonight with all those things that he's doing, so thank you, Brian. Okay.
So I have one correction. Actually, I have 17 grandchildren now. And if you come to my farm, you might not want to drink the water because a lot of girls do, and a lot of them go home and start having babies. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that I would like to talk about tonight. First thing I want to talk about is why I ran for commissioner 18 years ago. So, being a farmer, and I know that a lot of you have passion for agriculture and passion for farming. Because without food, and I saw it on a card in a parking lot, no farms, no food. So my wife and I and all of our children worked hard on a farm for many, many years. I never thought, like Bridget, that I would ever have anything to do with politics. Ever. Was the last thing on my mind. However, I began to recognize that if you are not at the table, you are on the menu. So I began to get involved. I began to become board members of different boards. I was on the board of DFA as a director. I used to go to meetings, and believe me, I have strong opinions, and I can get loud. I'm on a lot of committees at CCAP, the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania, and I've had some longtime commissioners say to me, you should settle down. You can offend people, and people won't like you. And the man that said that to me, I said, are you married? And he says, yeah, I'm married. I said, do you always agree with your wife? He said, no. I said, but you still love her. You still go to bed with her every night. You still kiss her in the morning before you leave the house. He said, well, yeah. I said, then why can't we have conversations? And why can't some of those conversations be spirited? Because as much as I am willing to give my opinion to people, I am willing to listen to other people and get their opinions. And I'm also willing to do what's best for my community. I can tell you that the people who are your commissioners right now, Jim Shook, Jocelyn Kramer, and myself, get along. We go places in the car together. It surprises people. But it shouldn't surprise people, because when you respect one another, when you listen to one another, when you really do care about your community, and you're willing to compromise and do the best thing you can do for your community, then guess what? When I go to any decision-making process and I think I have the answer, and when Jocelyn comes and she thinks she has the answer, And when Jim comes and he thinks he has the answer, because we respect one another, and because we listen, and because we talk, and because we have spirited conversations, the answer is very seldom A, B, or C. The answer is often D, E, or F, and it's a better answer than we've thought about on the onset. Because we care. And that's what brought me to run for office. I care. I care very much about Wayne County. I have 6 children and 17 grandchildren. I want this county to be as good as it could be for everybody. Not just my children, my grandchildren, all of yours. And people moving into our county. We have a tremendous amount of good people who have moved into Wayne County. Now, I often hear from people that say, these assholes came from Jersey, or these assholes came from New York. But guess what? I lived here all my life. I know plenty of assholes who have been here their whole life. But the good thing is you have a board of commissioners that listens. And the same reasons that I ran for office are the reasons that Jim ran for office. And the same reasons that we did Jocelyn ran for office. So Wayne County works. We work often with the hospital. Jim is one of my good friends. My daughter Chelsea is a nurse practitioner, works for the healthcare system. We have one of the best healthcare systems going because these guys care. And it's not because they shut anybody out of a conversation, it's because they listen to everybody's opinion, and guess what? That works. So when we talk about our healthcare system and how we work together, the one thing that most people don't know, and incidentally a civics course 101 on county government would be good for everybody because they don't teach it in high school, and most people have no idea what county commissioners do to begin with. But the thing that we do at the hospital, and most importantly, because we are fiscally conservative enough to have done good work at the county to be solid financially, we have an excellent bond rating. And because we have an excellent bond rating, we can guarantee the bonds that the hospital uses to build, to repair, to make improvements. And guess what? They get a good rating. They take advantage of the rating that we have. Most people don't know that there's that relationship in our community, but there is, and it's very strong. And anytime Jim needs something from the county, he calls us. And anytime we need something from him, we call him. And we're invited to meetings, and we sit down and talk, and we hear the tough news as good as the good news. And we all communicate. Our schools. Keith Ganuski, who you haven't met yet, is going to talk to you about some wonderful things that are going on at the school. But I actually am able to sit on our occupational advisory committee. As somebody who very much believes that we can work with our hands and make a living and make a good living. Our children for a long, long time were pushed toward 4-year academic degrees. We still need 4-year academic degrees, and he'll talk about that. I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. But we also have kids who can work in electric, plumbing, building, concrete. We need them all. That's right. But we know that because we do studies. We're involved in the Wayne Pike Workforce Alliance. These people are involved in our schools. There's all these partnerships that is really what I'm talking about and what makes Wayne County successful. And it's because of the very things that Roger talked about at the onset of this meeting. Civil conversations. Some of them are spirited. Some of them are worrisome. Some of them keep me up at night. But we all care. The one thing that I do think that we all should be aware of is we're at a critical point with ambulance service in Wayne County that everybody should be worrying about at night. And we need to find a way forward that we can make this work. Financially, an ambulance is a dead bang loser. I worked at the hospital years ago when you had a hospital ambulance, and guess what? They did away with it because it lost a credible amount of money. The demographics in Wayne County are such that, from north to south, when you only have 3 or 4 ambulances, you get one that takes somebody all the way to Storuca because they're in an incredible amount of pain, had a heart attack or had a stroke. That ambulance is out of service for a long period of time. A long period of time. And all you need to do is have 3 of them out for a long period of time. And guess what? If you have a stroke, seconds count. Seconds. We need ambulances. We need people thinking about this. The county commissioners are trying to come up with ideas. The township supervisors are trying to come up with ideas. We have our legislators working on legislation to try to come up with an idea that will make this work. But it's a big problem. And there are a lot of other problems. And the other things that keep me up at night recently is the impasse of the budget. Is the administration federally who make decisions like, boom, boom, boom. I go to work the next day and our people in drug and alcohol are wondering how they're going to take care of people who are knocking on the door. Our people who worry about housing had their funding cut. What are we going to do? People in children and youth. Behavioral health. What has the county commissioners done? And I got to tell you, first of all, our biggest responsibility is the county budget, a yearly budget, to make sure that we've come up with a budget and we stick to that budget. The next thing we do, and it's probably a little bit out of our lane, and I've been accused of going out of my lane quite often, but I don't care because I think that a leader has to stand up and lead. One of the things that we did originally was form the group Wayne Tomorrow. And how do people say to me, that'll never work. You can't get people from each side of an idea, each side of a spectrum, each side of a political philosophy, and get them at a table. They'll end up fighting and leave. I said, well, I know there's going to be spirited conversations. And I know there's going to be disagreements. And I know that once in a while we're going to have to stand up and be a whistleblower. But the only way we're going to move this community forward and be able to endorse the ideas is find common ground, stand on that common ground, and work together to have a better Wayne County. A lot of people joked with me when they heard that I was coming here, and they said, there's no way you're sticking to 5 minutes because I can talk on. But I'm going to be here for a while. Feel free to ask me questions. But thank you for putting this together. I think it's a great thing, and I think that all of us appreciate you having us here. Thank you.
Well, I certainly don't want too much appreciation directed at me because I'm only one small part of a very good group that it's called Wayne County Voices. We're a nonpartisan group, and we think we've found a niche here where people want a nonpartisan way to communicate and not feel threatened or challenged, but to feel welcome. Spirited discussion is always welcome, of course. Okay, now my next introduction, he's been a patient man down there at the end. Also a person that I really do not know, unfortunately, but I'll begin to hopefully. So Dr. Keith Ganuski, superintendent, 28 years at the Wallenpaupack Area School District. Doesn't even look that old. 8 years high school special education teacher, 4 years middle school assistant principal, 7 years middle school principal, 4 years assistant superintendent, and now 5 years superintendent. He has a BS in special education and elementary education from East Stroudsburg University, an MS in educational classroom technology from Wilkes University, an MS in educational leadership principal certification from Wilkes University, superintendent's letter of eligibility from the University of Scranton, and a doctorate of education in leadership studies with a concentration in emergency management and disaster preparedness from Louisiana State University, Shreveport. He's a board member of Wayne Memorial Health Systems, board representative for the Hospital Safety Committee, board member Wayne County YMCA, board member Wayne County Family Center, president of Texas No. 4 Fire Company, Holmesdale Fire Department, a 35-year member having previously served as captain and rescue lieutenant, nationally certified firefighter, numerous trainings and certifications, basic vehicle rescue, hazardous materials response, etc. He's a member, I know there's more. He's a member of the ARC supporting the Dyeberry Day Camp. assisting fundraising activities such as the Color Run, coordinating the Fire Truck Day, and T-Wahoos, which is Walton-Paul Pack Administrators Helping Out Others, annual McDonald's lunch for the campers. An elder at Bethany Presbyterian Church. He resides in Honesdale, is married, his wife with Mary Ann, 25 years, 2 children, Emily and Seth, which are 4th generation volunteer firefighters themselves.
My mom wrote that introduction. Very, very proud. Very, very proud. Bridget, I also wanted to say that you were talking about the colonoscopy department. Try being a superintendent during the pandemic. I think I was working in the colonoscopy department for a while. At least I think I would rather have.
It's better to give than it is
Yes,
receive.
I'm sure. I do have to share an interesting story, 2 quick stories about the fire service. So I've been again, I'm 3rd generation. My children are both 4th generation firefighters. Very, very, very proud of them. And so, I'm going to say probably about 2 months ago, we had a devastating fire in Beach Lake, and my son, who right now he goes to Penn State, he lives at the fire station, does the live-in program while pursuing his degree. He was home on break, so we went in and worked on the fire. Limited water supply, so unfortunately it wasn't a good outcome. But after the fire, we were kind of going through and doing some salvage and overhaul, and the owner of the house was just absolutely devastated. And I went over and I said, is there anything we can do to comfort you? And she said, there is in the basement, there's a bag, and in that bag are all my life documents, everything that is absolutely safe, that I kept close to me, I put in a fireproof bag. And I'd really appreciate it if you could go and find that. And it's one of those things where, you kind of want to do that, but yet you don't want to get into a situation where you're putting people's lives at risk for going in and finding documents. But she was very devastated. And so my son, of course, he's a go-getter. He's, come on, Dad, let's go get it. So down in the basement we go with our SCBAs on, and we're crawling around, smoke-filled, can't really see much. And he had gotten a description, and the homeowner said it was a fire retardant bag, a rather large bag, an orange bag, you can't miss it. So we go down there, there is just debris everywhere, as you can imagine. And he yells, Dad, I got it. I said, okay, let's bring it out. So we dragged it up the steps. I'm thinking, man, this thing is heavy. We get it out to the homeowner. She starts laughing. We saved her Christmas tree. We tried. So I just wanted to share some things about the Walton-Paul Pack Area School District, which I'm so proud to be a part of and being a superintendent. Our district is spread out over 325 square miles, so we have a very, very, very large district. We have 3,000 students. 1/3 of our students come from Wayne County, 2/3 come from Pike County. But one of the things sometimes people don't recognize when we start talking about the needs of our community and needs is that of the economically disadvantaged students that we have, which we're about 60% economically disadvantaged. And many times people don't recognize that because you look at the lake, you look at the weekends and some of the money and some of the things that are the beautiful resources that we have. But really when you get into our community, you see the need, you see the food insecurities, you see the poor living situations, and your heart breaks for the students that we have. So it's truly our goal to make it absolutely enjoyable to come to school. With that, our district has moved forward with providing free lunch and free breakfast for our students for the last several years. And one of the things that I always say to the teachers, to our staff during the opening in-service is, it is our goal to thrive, not just survive. Because you can look at the demographics and you can make excuses, you can demand lower, you can ask for lower, but that's not the case. And the proof in the pudding was last year when Dr. Carrie Rowe, the Secretary of Education, came to our school district, toured our facilities, and she said to me, at the end of the day, she said, Keith, I have to tell you, somebody forgot to tell your staff that you're in an economically disadvantaged area because you wouldn't know it. With the services and the opportunities that our students have each and every day, the work and the effort that our staff puts into our students and working with our families, it truly is staggering. It's something that we're very, very proud of. When you look at the current demographics of education, like many of the previous speakers, there's just a lot of uncertainty. You hear about the removal of the education department, right? Department of Education at the federal level. And there's pros and cons, I think, to everything. The pro is local control. We talked about local control. I love local control. Our school board is incredible. Jack Spall is our board president. He's been on the school board for over 40 years. John Kiesendahl has been on the school board for over 40 years. These folks know how to get things done. They know what's right. They make good, sound decisions, and they've done it for decades. So having some of the funds come back to us and some of the control come to the local school board is something that we certainly promote. With that being said, anytime that you do something with the federal government, I think we've all run into red tape at some time. Right? It's difficult to get things done. Some of the grants that we do, in fact, we have a full-time grant writer to try to secure the grants that should be available to us. So that's a little bit of the struggles that we face, and we think that could maybe be improved moving forward. The con, of course, is just not knowing from a funding perspective what that means. There are a lot of things that the federal government does for the Department of Education, and I know at the state level, at the local level, we just don't know what that means for us. And so it's a little bit concerning, a little bit unnerving as we're trying to plan our budgets and make payroll and things of that nature. It's just a little concerning. When we look at what Commissioner Smith was talking about, what an impassioned speech that was. I wanted him to come talk to my football team tonight. We're up there playing Delaware Valley. I needed you to stop up. And I wanted to run through that wall and line up. But no, thank you. And one of the things that Commissioner Smith, and he has been very instrumental, as well as the Wayne County Commissioners and the Pike County Commissioners, is that of moving forward with the Wayne and Pike Career and Tech Center, which is something that is very well. In the state of Pennsylvania, there are 67 counties. 65 counties have career and tech centers. There are 2 counties that don't, Wayne and Pike. Yeah. And we're looking to fix that. It's not right, it's not fair, and we're going to move forward with that. And we're very excited about the possibilities and what that's going to bring to our area. The support that we have received is unlike anything I have ever recognized. Representative Bresnahan, Congressman Bresnahan, has been to our school twice. He has recommended for congressional appropriations $3 million to put towards the project. And so we're very excited for that. At the state level, Senator Brown, Senator Baker, Representative Fritz, Representative Olsummer, Representative Probst, they're all on board with this. They do see the need. They see the desire to do all of the things that Commissioner Smith was talking about, to provide opportunities for our students. The great myth, I will reiterate it, is that you have to go to a 4-year degree, to be a 4-year college to be successful. That is the farthest thing from the truth, and we're finally coming around to recognizing that and really giving our students the opportunity to decide in high school their career pathways, and that has been a true focus in our high school is pathway programs. And you may say, well, what is a pathway program? How does that work? It's kind of like this. Many times when we went to school, there were electives, right? Everybody took electives. So maybe you took accounting, maybe you took a shop class. At the end of your high school career, you had a lot of onesies, I'll call them. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. You had a lot of bricks. We'll use that as the analogy, a lot of bricks. The pathway model is to get students in 10th grade aligned with what they would like to do after high school and get them aligned in courses. So now those bricks are now foundation, a strong foundation. And what does that foundation include? That foundation includes college credits in many cases. We have dual enrollment, articulation. My own children went to school and their first semester was already done. Credits that they had taken in the high school, and that's open to all of our kids, which is something that's really great. But it's also important for kids to know what they don't want to do. Too frequently, kids go to college, and years ago it was undeclared, and my skin would crawl. Like, undeclared? How can you be paying $25,000 a year and not know what you're doing? Just give me the money. Honestly, let's figure out a different way. But so we have great news. Certainly the CTC is going to bring some wonderful opportunities for our students. And a lot of times people say, well, with what we have right now, Wallenpaul Peck, we have 9, soon to be 10 programs. 10 career and tech ed programs. And our newest program that we're looking at getting approved this year for next year is aviation. I don't know if you know this, but we have a 737 flight simulator in the middle of our high school that students are being trained on right now. Anybody know that? Okay. People do that. That's great. So, aviation is something that is huge. And when we started talking about it, the people that live in our area, that live here, and maybe travel outside of the area a little bit, the support is incredible. I believe the superintendent of the Scranton-Wilkes-Barre Airport lives in Lake Ariel someplace. I know that they have reached out to us. There's a lot of energy, there's a lot of excitement. The problem that we face is that currently what we do is the Wayne County schools and even the Pike County schools, we work collaboratively and offer our programs to each other. The reason that does not work is that because we do not have a career and tech center, a student must leave their home school district, their family and friends, and join the other school districts. So if anybody knows the rivalry between Homesdale and Wallenpaupack, yeah. So try to have a kid. I've had parents. I live in Homesdale. Superintendent. I don't say that too often, but I will admit it here. But I've been Homesdale shopping in Super Duper, and parents are stopping me saying, Keith, you have great programs at Wallenpaupack. We want to send our kids there. I just can't make them a Buckhorn.
That's right.
So this is what we can do. The Career and Tech Center would be a half-day program where students would stay in their home school district. They would stay with their family and friends. They would eat lunch in their home school district. They would continue to play sports in their home school district, and they would come and get the training at the CTC. So that is certainly one of the big plans. There's a focus on America. We talk about Buy America. We want it. I think we all believe that. We all want to run, but who's going to make that if we don't have the skilled workers to do this, right? We talk to WEDCO all the time. We talk to Pike Economic Development. And it is staggering. I did not know this until we started moving down this road, that the number of companies that have come to our area that are looking to build here, and they ask, well, can we go to your CTC? And when they say we don't have one, they say, you're kidding me, you have to. Where is your skilled workforce? The other critical part that we're going to focus on with the CTC is that this is not a traditional school that might only be open from 8 to 3 and pretty much empty the rest of the time. This is a commitment to our community. This is about training our workforce, our adult learners as well. Maybe there's a second career. Maybe there's another opportunity that they would like to have. It's a slow clap, but I'll take it. Yeah. And so when we look at the local sustainability, the life-sustaining wages, this is just an absolutely incredible project. Where we are today with this is simple. We have the school districts, we have affectionately known as the 3 Ws, Wayne Highlands, Western Wayne, Wallenpaupack, are looking at building the CTC, where we have had a feasibility study, we have had proformas created, and each district has taken it back to their school boards to have that conversation of who's in and at what percentage. Delaware Valley is also under the umbrella of the Wayne Pike CTC, but they made a rather significant investment several years ago down at their facility, so they would be a satellite campus. So the main hub, which would have 14 career and tech ed programs, would be across the street at our high school, but they would also have 8 programs in Delaware Valley. And what that would allow us to do is sync our programs, whereby right now we have an automotive program which includes kids who are interested in gas engines, electric motors, and diesel engines. Delaware Valley has the same thing. Western Wayne has the same thing. What we would be able to do is we would have specialized programs. One would be able to take diesel, one would be able to take electric, and one would be able to take gas engines. So that's, again, the flexibility that you have when you truly have a CTC that we've been missing out for many years. So in closing, I just want to thank, honestly, our local, state, and federal officials who truly have our backs on this. When I go around the state and I talk to superintendents and I tell them that I have the commissioners, I have our state senators and the representatives, I have their phones, their phone numbers in my phone. That doesn't happen everywhere. This is special. We have a special place. It's great. It's a great time to be a Wayne County resident. It's even a better time to be a Wallenpaupack Buckhorn. Have a great night.
seems to me we have a lot of credibility, a lot of experience, a lot of openness, a lot of humor. And so now is the time for us to interact with this incredible panel that we've got. And I don't believe, Kathy, did we get anybody signed up there that wants to speak first?
Emily.
Okay, she made me promise that she wouldn't have to go first. So I get the feeling this is going to be a pretty spontaneous crowd. So would anybody like to ask a question of one of the panel members? There's a person back there. Robin, come on up.
Oh, all right. Follow the rules.
Yes, please.
So
For
start
once.
off by thank you to the speakers, and I mean, a good use of our evening. I think we could all say that.
Yeah.
Thank you, all of you. And I will say I'm a Wayne County resident, Robin Sampson. And when Jim said that we empower our political leaders, I guess my question goes to Bridget and Brian, who are elected folks. If we want to if we want to get our ideas across, if we think things are important that aren't being done the way they should be, what's the best way for us to let those leaders know? The most effective way?
So, does that work? So,
Just start off.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, that's a very good question, and I will tell you, I think the best way is to organize. For me, specifically, you know, I have a district office and I have an office in Harrisburg. And like I told you, when I got to Harrisburg, my background was as a nurse, right? Working in operating rooms and recovery room. That's kind of what kind of nursing I did, orthopedics. Everything had an acronym. So I had no idea everything, especially in the world of education. Everything had an acronym. So I'm sitting on, you know, when I first got there, I was sitting on Game and Fish. Now, can you imagine me on Game and Fish hunting? I had no idea what I was. You should, with that hat, you could sit on Game and Fish for sure. Agriculture, which is huge in the state of Pennsylvania, but it was a learning curve for me. Aging, which I was familiar with, and health. But I will say, the people that would come to our office, advocates, messengers, it was essential for me to understand they were honest, and they told me, this is the bill, House Bill 123. This is the bill, this is why it's good, but this is what's bad about it. And I appreciated so much from people to come to me and talk to me about whether it was, like I said, whether it had something to do with transportation, education, agriculture, aging, health and human services, because their story related, an actual personal story, and a need related very much to the legislation. The legislation's filled of whereas and may and shalls and all these words. You know, there's part of it that's the meat of it, but it came from the advocates. It came from the people that were organized, the lobbyists. You know, lobbyists get a bad rap sometimes, but a lot of them were very organized and full of knowledge to kind of school you up on, you know, there's lots of different pieces of legislation that go through. And yeah, I knew my healthcare world, but I think that's the best way to actually go to your representatives. I mean, Brian mentioned the ones that sit here, like Senator Brown and Senator Lisa Baker, who I get to work with all the time. We negotiate things, and your House representatives. And I think that's the best way. That's the best way to kind of get that message across, is actually telling a story, going to the representative, organizing, traveling off to Harrisburg. I think that's the best way to do it, if you really have a message that you want to get through.
If you have a pen, 570-493-1279, call me. I mean, some of the best ass chewings I've ever had really result in some, you know, creating good things. I gotta tell you that, I can point right to one thing. We actually have a small business development fund. And a lady called me one day and said, why do you people not do anything for small businesses who want to get started here in Wayne County? If you go over to Lackawanna County or Susquehanna County or any county around, they have a fund that they can help you maybe get your business plan started with a small business development fund. And she was not as nice as I'm talking right now, but I can tell you that it made sense. So I listened to her. I went back to the other commissioners. We actually created a small business development fund that we fund through WEDCO, WEDCO, or Wayne Economic Development Corporation, gets people applying to them to locate a business here. And now instead of saying, go talk to the governor's action team or go talk to the small business development people, we actually have a fund that we can give people some money out of through WEDCO and get them started in their business, and it's turned out results. So again, I'm always interested in hearing from somebody who has a really good idea. And, and I'll even relate this back to our employees. When I first started, one of the older commissioners told me, this employee's a pain in the neck, don't listen to him. This employee works at our prison, he's always negative, don't listen to him. But guess what? If you listen to them, at least you know what their opinion is, and if you digest that, sometimes there's a really good nugget of truth in there that you can address just by doing the right thing. So please call me, and if you need my number, if you didn't get it, I'll give it to you at the end of the program, but thank you.
Thank you. What the commissioner just said in his speech before is listening. But that's what he kept saying over and over. That was the like you have to listen, and that's exactly how you get the message across. So yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Oh, Emily. Yep, you're not first, but you gotta be
I
second.
guess I could be second. Sure. I spent most of my career working on federal benefits, specifically the SNAP program. A lot of cuts coming from the One Beautiful Bill, including states not being able, basically federal funds being taken away if the SNAP error rate is too high, meaning if a family is getting too much money or not enough money. And that money has to go back to the state legislator has to make it up. So I guess I'm just wondering, Keith, you mentioned that you are doing free school lunch. Is that going to be impacted by the cuts? I would love to hear kind of how you all are thinking about SNAP. And Bridget, I know you're mostly on the Medicaid side, but what's the conversation in the legislature about, how do we make sure that we're not taking food away from families and not making the state have to pay like millions of dollars to the federal government? So we'd just love to hear how those conversations are going.
Yeah, I can give you a quick breakdown. So the free breakfast and lunch program for schools that participate in that, for us with the economically disadvantaged numbers that we have, 70% reimbursement from the federal government, 20% reimbursement from the state government, 10% is put in by the local district. We have not received any confirmation as to what this is going to roll out to be. As I said before, our school district and our school board is very committed to our students. I will tell you a quick story. When the pandemic struck, we had a decision, as many school districts did, as to what we were going to do for the food insecurities. Were we going to continue providing breakfast and lunches for our families? And our district said, absolutely, whatever we have to do, we're going to do this. And what was very eye-opening was I traveled around. I think we had 5 or 6 different locations, distribution points. We actually had staff coming in and taking meals and driving them to individuals' homes who did not have transportation. When I went down to the South Elementary School, the line to pick up breakfast and lunch was wrapped around the school and down Main Street, like I had never seen before. And so I can't get that image out of my mind, and I tell my school board about it all the time, and they hear that, and they will continue. I believe they will continue to support regardless of what happens. This is something that our community counts on us, and I know that I think all of us feel that in our profession, the responsibilities change. Like everything is expanding, everything that we do is expanding. But that's what our community needs, so that's what we're going to do. And our motto has always been, figure it out. We will figure it out, we will make a way regardless of what happens.
Listen, there's a lot of noise in Washington when you talk about the big, beautiful bill. And there's lots of ways to interpret it. You talk to some side, and this is what they're saying, and the other side's saying this. I will say I have a really healthy working relationship with our Congressman, Rob Bresnahan. And especially because of the hospital situation in Scranton, PA. We have 2 hospital systems. I don't know if anybody remembers the old Mercy and the Moses Taylor. They're circling the drain because of private equity. And they have destroyed the the hospital system. So he and I have worked very well together, and I will say we are an example of two different party members, right, that are laser focused on taking care of our community. I do not agree with lots of stuff that he says or does or votes. He doesn't agree with me, but we both agree that we gotta fix this. Now, the big beautiful bill and the breakdown of the big beautiful bill, of course, I am very concerned about those that are rely on Medicaid, SNAP, and those programs. And I think there's a lot of people that don't understand the exact ways that Medicaid supports our healthcare system. I always tell the story. Look at my husband's an attorney. He has a practice up here in Pike County, and we live up in Clark Summit. So he drives up to Pike County. He's in Milford, on Broad Street there in Milford. And we have 4 kids. My oldest was Jake, right? The one who had the leukemia. And I was a nurse. He's an attorney. We have Blue Cross Blue Shield. We have good insurance. But when Jacob got sick, and I was down at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and the layout was given to us, the treatment plan, I had a woman come into the hospital, and she said to our room, and she said, listen, I want you to apply for medical assistance. And I said, oh, no, we have insurance. I don't need medical assistance. Leave that for someone else that needs it. So about 6 weeks go by, I get my first bill from the hospital, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, because now I'm out of network, and I'm responsible for 20% of out of network. And I'm a nurse, so I'm kind of familiar with, this was my child, so I was like in mom mode. And my bill was $135,000 for the first 6 weeks of care for Jake, and I was responsible for 20%, and he had a 4-year treatment plan. If anybody's familiar with childhood leukemia, type, ALL, type T-cell, curable because of research, because of medical research, which I'm a huge advocate for, so I'm really concerned about medical research and funding for medical research and what's happening at the NIH. It's really dangerous. It's dangerous. We have to be careful where we're pulling this money away from. Do not get me wrong, there is waste. There is waste. There's not I want to be careful about fraud, abuse, because then we put people into categories. There's waste. There's no doubt there is waste in the federal government. There's waste in the state government. I see it. And I think I see it because I worked in the private world for 23 years before I went into the government world, right? So I know the difference. I have unbelievable health insurance now. I actually feel guilty about the insurance I have. We have a fire alarm? Do we have ambulances?
Keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
We're okay.
So I know we have to work together to make sure we can fill it, but I am concerned about the ability of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to backfill some of these federal cuts. So to answer your question and what the superintendent is saying, we will watch and we will pay attention, but I do have a good working relationship so far with the congressman. Now we have our senators as well, but it very much worries me because the statistics that you talk about and the statistics, I'm up in Abington Heights School District. It's supposed to be this very affluent school district. There is poverty in Abington Heights. There is poverty. And we have to make sure that we do not hurt those that are relying upon it, whether it be for SNAP and breakfast and lunch, or medical care, or reimbursement to our hospitals. Because they are in big trouble if we start fooling around with reimbursement rates to our hospitals. They will go under. We cannot support them. Our rural healthcare system is in a whole world of hurt. If we do not make sure that the cuts that are made are done in a manner that protects those that are actually reliable. So I had to go on medical assistance. I had to go on medical assistance for Jacob for 4 years. And I tell people, I don't look like the person you're thinking about playing video games in their basement of their mother's house, they don't got a job, and they're using the system. We have to make sure that, are there people like that? Probably, yes. But there are people that actually look like me that I wouldn't be able to get my child to have remission and be 24 years old and healthy if I did not have medical assistance at that time.
This isn't working, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it is working?
The biomed guy fixed it.
Yeah. The engineer fixed it.
Oh yeah, this is a nuclear mod after all.
Nuclear.
Okay, who's next?
Up there.
Yeah, come on up here.
All right.
Be sure you give us your name.
Yeah. Use this thing?
Yes.
Or you could use that one.
We can use this one here.
Yeah. Can you hear me, folks?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
My name is John Pace, and I did not come here tonight to hear the splendid intelligence that was displayed by these four speakers. And that's not why I'm here, but I really appreciate and all that you've done for this entire community. What I did come here is for somebody to explain to me how an $800 billion cut in medical assistance in any program, call it what you want, could be good. How is that good? How are we sitting here saying, well, we'll figure it out, you know, and praising somebody who voted for this bill? It smacks of a real difficulty for me intellectually, and I just want to say once again, I'm really happy to get to know the four of you. It's really great. But anyway, so somebody want to take that question on?
Margaret, can I take the seating next time? Because this seat did not work out.
I think it's perfect.
Yeah, thanks. The truth be told, my two bosses are sitting in the room here. That'd be Marguerite, who sits on the hospital board, and Keith, who sits on the system board. So I'm getting, I'll get an evaluation when this is over. Thank you for your question, and I've been asked similar questions from the healthcare perspective, because we know that $800 billion is really majorly impacting the healthcare. I can only rely on one thing, and I can't answer why someone voted that way, except that, go back in history. 1965, 1966, the passage of Medicare and Medicaid, okay? The world was coming to an end. We couldn't afford it, people couldn't pay for it, the system was gonna go bankrupt, people were gonna be left without health care anyway, okay? What happened in history? And I always feel history is always important, because we pay attention. If we pay attention to history, we try to do two things. We learn from it, and we try not to repeat those things that caused a problem, right? We should always pay attention to history. I can check with Dr. Ganuski at the end, but I think I paid attention to that lesson. Okay. And I think what's going to happen here is, like any of those other large negative impact healthcare bills through the centuries, frankly, okay, regardless of where it was, has always then just kind of required addressing the unintended consequences, okay? There's always unintended consequences of the bill, whether it's at the county level, the state level, the federal level. At some point, the rubber is gonna hit the road here, where somebody's gonna have to go and go, wow, that's not there anymore? Wow, we can't do that? I mean, there's already conversation at various levels about what do we need to do to address that, unintended consequence. So I can only hope that history repeats itself, that the things that happened from 1965, 66, how many revisions do we have to Medicare? Some good, some bad, but it kept addressing every shortfall. I hope and pray that our leaders in the appropriate places, through the lobbying efforts, through your vote, we put the right people in the place and we give them the expertise, knowledge they need to make that gap kind of come narrower. We also have a local responsibility, because at the end of the day, we have to make sure locally, we are trying to take care of the folks in our community, and it starts there. I can tell you, for example, at the hospital, we're not waiting to find out what those interpretive guidelines are from the big beautiful bill. Our finance department, for example, is already working on alternative payment methods for patients who can come in, and it sounds like all we're doing is creating more debt, but I'll say it's good debt. It's related to being able to have someone not have services withheld, but the company we might bring in would give them funding that they can get on a payment plan, that they can pay that back, potentially help build some of their credit back up if they have bad credit, but simultaneously pay the hospital for those services in a reasonable amount of time, so we're not waiting for the person who can only afford to pay $10 a month. The hospital can't afford necessarily to do that, but bringing in an intermediary who can take that risk and help patients get the health care services is just one example of what we're trying to do at a local level for what's going on. Working with the county government, we're trying to bridge the gap for the food insecurities. We're working together on the Ag Center. We really need to make sure that that ag center comes out and that we're able to put food in the hands of the people who need it. We run programs at the hospital for our diabetics and our cardiac patients to be sure that they're getting food coupons that go to our local grocery, that they can get the appropriate foods and not eat the canned ham and the canned vegetables. So I think we also have some responsibility here in the community to look for ways to try to address that. The group in the back, and I'm sorry I missed, but those just simple things like household toiletries, simple activity of daily living stuff. You don't appreciate how much the need is till somebody hands somebody a, what's a 10-cent bottle of shampoo, okay, because they couldn't afford it. Yeah, it really is, it's pretty amazing. But we all have a responsibility. I'll pass it on to anybody else who wants to comment on that.
Well, just quickly to, majority. I sit in my caucus in Harrisburg all the time, and all I hear is 102, 101. 102, 101. So nothing's getting passed unless the entire caucus, the Democratic caucus, votes for that bill. And there are lots of members. Let me tell you, within the Democratic caucus, we have our own caucus. We have our own people that are on this side of the Democratic beliefs and on this side of the Democratic beliefs. So our leaders in the House, and it's very similar in the Senate, or excuse me, in the federal level, that's the only way that things happen. They must have a majority to push it through to the House to get it to the Senate. And then it's exhausting because I know when it goes over to the Senate, I have really good, healthy bills sitting in the Health Committee in the Senate that are benign. They're helpful. There's nothing, but it's in a Republican-held Senate. So a lot of times they trade bills, and it gets to be exhausting to have to listen and work like this, but it's the majority. So why did our congressman specifically vote for the big, beautiful bill? I talked to him, I talked to his office, and he knows I'm upset. He knows I'm upset that he voted for that bill and the damage that it will do, but again, not to noise. We have to break this down. We have to make sure that we pay attention to who's getting hurt, who's not getting hurt, and accommodations that have to be made. Because, yes, did he vote for that bill? But immediately, he and his office are telling specifically to Jim and I, who are very laser focused on the healthcare issues, listen, we've got this pot of money that I talked to Dr. Oz, and it's going to be, specifically put aside for the Commonwealth here in Pennsylvania and the rural healthcare. So hey, if we have that and that's going to help me, then we're going to make sure we advocate and push and make sure they understand. You may have voted for it, and these cuts are coming this way, but we need this money to backfill where our constituents are going to be hurt, specifically in the Medicare, Medicaid world. But I'm sure he and others, there's the congressman in Lehigh Valley, Representative McKenzie in Lehigh Valley. They were really pressured. Some of these guys were really pressured, men and women, because of the majority. There's lots of times they can say, oh, vote your district. You can go ahead and vote your district if it's you're out in the rural part of Pennsylvania and you're a Democrat out that way, or you're a Republican in a more urban setting. Sometimes they'll say, but you can't do that anymore. Not in this kind of majority setting in the caucuses that I sit in. And it gets frustrating because there's lots of people that may or may not have wanted to vote for something, but then they send it over to the Senate. We're going to do some amendments, send it back to the House, fix it up, and a lot of it becomes like more media, like social media stuff that they can say, I voted for this and that one voted for this, and like I said, it gets exhausting because some of it's just showmanship and theater, like they say. This is all theater, and we're wasting time and we're wasting money, and I don't like that part of the job that I do now. I don't like that. That's wasteful. And but I do hear everything that you're saying, because the big beautiful bill is extremely damaging to many people in the country, and we have to make sure that we watch what happens. And we'll be accountable.
Are you going to comment on this too?
No.
So I want to say that, first of all, I believe very much in the hospital. I believe that we have some things in this Medicare process and Medicaid that surgically need to be tweaked, right? But I come from a philosophy of a farmer. And I'm much, much different than my father. I don't even know if this philosophy relevance could say it's political. But some people, if something isn't working completely right, want to shut it down and clean it up and restart it. And I'll give you for instance. When I'm haying with my father, and my father's not a farmer, he was a lift truck mechanic, but I went into farming as a first generation. I love my father and say, hey, come help me. So if I have a piece of equipment that when during haying isn't working completely perfect, my father will say, shut it down, we need to work on this for a couple hours. Even if we only have 2 hours of daylight left and I need to get this field of hay baled, he wants to shut it down completely. My philosophy is, let's get the hay baled, and then let's pull it in the barn and make the tweaks that we need to tweak to make sure that it's working properly. So there is different philosophies on correcting things, and I know the hospital, I know it well. I had 6 kids, they got hurt, we paid bills. There was times in my life that I went without insurance. One of the problems in our healthcare system is insurance. Right? I can give you a good for instance. As a commissioner, we see bills come in, and we know what we're paying, and guess what? The insurance doesn't pay the hospital that. And I learned very early on when I couldn't have insurance as a farmer with 6 children, because it was costing me more for insurance per month than it was for the mortgage on my farm. So I elected to not have insurance. One of my faults is I'm very proud. I didn't want to accept anything. I did not want to take welfare. I did not want to take any subsidy at all because I'm too proud. I was raised that way. So guess what? I went without insurance. And here's what I found out. When my kid broke his arm, and we went to the hospital, and we got the bill, and when we were walking out, I said to the lady, I don't have insurance, but I'm very willing to pay. Can I just pay the bill? And what can you do for me? And they said, we could cut the bill in half if you're willing to pay. When I got the bill from the doctor who read the x-ray because of the broken arm, went to him. Said, I don't have insurance, but I'm willing to pay you. What can you do for me? We could cut it in half. So we're all sold a bill of goods that our insurance is covering these huge astronomical bills when a lot of the bills we could pay out of our pocket because they're only getting half the money. So that's only part of the problem, and I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of that. I talk too much.
Very true. I think people get misinformed as to what hospitals and any healthcare provider gets paid. And our hospital had the privilege of participating in what's called the PA Rural Health Model for the last 6 years. We got to sit at the table with major payers in our area, and not just the local folk major payers. These are the corporate executives for the major payers. I will leave their names off, but I will tell you folks, we need to be putting pressure on those insurers. They are the ones in the room, and someone may say my opinion is tainted, but one of the objectives in the room was a lot like Commissioner Smith's comments tonight. We can disagree. We can have a spirited conversation. And there were spirited conversations across the table between the providers in the room and the insurers in the room. And I will tell you, the insurers in the room nodded their head and went, yeah, we have the money. We just have to know that we're spending it the way that we want it to be spent for the reasons and the objectives they're trying to accomplish. It's probably the most progress that providers and insurers have had in a room together in forever in the healthcare industry. But we need to be putting pressure on those payers, okay? Look at where their profit margins are, pick up the newspaper, and look at the negative margins that your hospitals are at. And that story will tell the whole thing for you. That's not taking my word, that's not taking their word. The proof is in the numbers. They have the ability, and one of the fixes is getting the insurances to step forward and be part of the communities, not just sit there and reap the benefit. You want to sell your insurance in County X? You invest in County X, and you help County X improve the health care in that community, not the sick care. Don't let them get to us. Help us avoid that hospitalization. Help us avoid having that patient come in. Absolutely, 100% on the preventative side. But that'll be the two nurses talking on this end.
Yeah.
So I'll stop, because otherwise I'll be out talking to commissioners.
Can I?
Yep.
Thank you so much.
follow-up to the Medicaid issue. First of all, thank you all for being here. I called our representative's office prior to each vote on the big beautiful bill. I was assured the congressman will not vote for any bill that hurts his constituents, that cuts off any benefits. And then he continued to vote in favor of the bill that does just that. The final time I called after passage, I was assured that the congressman got cutouts for this group. And so the impacts on Wayne County won't be as dramatic as they looked like they would have been prior to these wonderful cutouts he got. So as the person out there who is dealing with this bill, and I know you don't know exactly what's going to come down the pike, are you familiar? Because I tried to get a list of what these cutouts were, and I never did. So can you confirm or not confirm the congressman got protections for several groups that otherwise would be severely harmed by Medicaid cuts? And thank you.
You know, to answer your question, I sure hope so. I'm serious, because I got the same kind of information. I hope so. I am super cautiously optimistic in my hope that we will have financial support. The rollout is silly. It's, you know, first of all, none of these things actually happen. You in this room are super informed about what's going on and what's happening, but I will tell you, most people are working, they have kids, they have no time or idea the real details of this bill. You know, so I worry about the you know, some of these cuts aren't happening until 2026, which is kind of clever, because then the midterm elections and all that kind of stuff, because the politics of the whole thing, right? But just know that I will tell you this. So far, the information, the torturing, I don't know what word you want to say, that I'm doing with that office, I have faith at this point that I don't know what's going to happen to the rest of the country, but I have faith that at this point we will be able to have some monies from that bucket of the $200 million that we're told we have to slow our roll on that. It's over a 5-year period. We got lots of hospitals, and I'm talking only about hospitals. You know, there's lots of things in this big, beautiful bill, lots of different systems that are going to be in crisis mode. So forgive me, because I'm laser focused on the hospital, the Medicaid, the Medicare, the coverage, certainly for you know, long-term care, the disabled population. So I'm watching this, but you know, I can't answer your question. I don't know how much, but the money is there. The rural fund is there. The money is there. It's over a 5-year period. It rolls out, but there's lots of applications on the table for this money. Sure. So, you know, hey, that $200 million sounds like a whole lot of money, but when you have 10 to 15 hospitals that are struggling, I mean, I have one in Scranton, but there's 11 of them on the burner that are coming up. So the governor and his team, their hair's on fire. I will tell you, because this is a huge issue. And this bill, and the federal government bill, makes it incredibly difficult for the state to backfill. I mean, you guys all know that the budget is not passed at the state level. We're hung up on transit, SEPTA and Pittsburgh. We're hung up on skilled games. You know, how much what percentage do we tax these skilled games at? Charter school reform for the public schools. You know, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania was found guilty in a lawsuit that we do not fund our public schools properly. So we have a lot of fixing to do, but and unfortunately, there's 203 members of the House of Representatives, there's 50 state senators, but there's like 4 of them that are doing the budget. Yeah. And it's really hard. I will say, Senator Pittman, who is in charge of the Senate, he has a hell of a time getting his caucus under control. He really does. And he's got wingnuts in that caucus. He's got normals that are trying to get the bill passed, but he has some wingnuts that are hell-bent on saying no against things that are just, you gotta compromise, and they won't do it. So it's sad because there are those that are ready to move forward, they're ready to vote on the budget, they're ready to fund what we have to fund, and maybe we'll do some compromising down the road, but I will say that the Senate Republicans are in a hell of a tizzy right now because he can't get his caucus under control. The governor really doesn't have anything to do with the budget. It's the House, it's the appropriations, and they're having a hard time compromising these four guys. Send the nurses in, we'll fix it. It's ridiculous, it's absolutely ridiculous.
I don't know, folks, are you familiar with the fact that 50 billion, 25 billion goes to the states, 25 billion rests with Dr. Oz?
Oh, Lord have
Yeah.
mercy.
Okay. So that is the breakdown, it's 50 billion, but it's already divided in half, as the representative spoke. And as far as, is it guaranteed? I don't know what's guaranteed, much like the representative, I can't speak to that. But I do know that on the day of the vote, I know my phone rang and it was Brezhnev, and I'm not picking a political side or party, but he had very pointed questions. So I at least can say that hopefully from Wayne Memorial's standpoint, we answered those questions for him adequately enough that he was able to go back and do whatever he had to do.
Yeah, he has
And
the
it was-
intellectual curiosity,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, we're not happy with the vote right now, but there is intellectual curiosity to kind of fix what he did, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. There are some things that we're trying to look for though now, because we don't really know, that there are some positives in the bill, much like Commissioner Smith, his father wants to shut the hay baler down. I'm trying to figure out, what do we work with, what we have? And there are some things, so the governor's office also has done outreach, and our hospital and health system has spoke directly with the governor's office, and we have put our wish list of, for example, one thing, and you say, well, gee, Jim, how does that help our health care? Well, if you can't get the money for the direct care, you gotta start eliminating other expenses. So one thing in our suggestion, and it seemed to be read very positively at the governor's office, the state was supposed to stand up something called the Health Information Exchange, probably about 10 or 15 years ago, okay? It was mandated, it was supposed to happen, guess what, folks, it never happened. It forced most all hospitals in Pennsylvania to go out and find their own Health Information Exchange. What's that do? If you go to Hospital A and you get treated, but 2 months later you go to Hospital B should be able to go and get your records without jumping through 20 hoops, 10 phone calls, and your information should be immediately available to the doctors caring for you. So one of the requests that we made, for God's sakes, if you get the money and it has to be spent across the state, would you relieve us of that burden? Okay, get us all on the same system. Get us to be able to move medical records from one place to the other. We have to be a little bit more ingenious about what ways we can also reduce expense if we aren't going to get the direct money to care for the patients. So again, those conversations are happening.
Hi, my name is Carol Phillips, and I'm a 15-year, round the year resident of Wayne County. My ancestry goes back 250 years, but I grew up other places and visited my grandparents here, lived in their house now. It's mine now. I'm motivated to come up and speak because I think there is a significant elephant in the room that we're overlooking, and that is the absence of revenue.
Right on.
And I really appreciate this panel. I'm very relieved to know we have such good people serving the community. The discussion that we're having, especially right now, makes me think of Dolly Parton's mother, Dolly needed a coat. There was no money, there was nothing for a coat. Her mother took tiny pieces of fabric, sewed them together to make big enough pieces of fabric to cut out a piece that would make a shape for a coat for Dolly. And the children laughed at her. But that was her coat of many colors, which she loved. I think you all are trying to stitch a coat of many colors. We need more revenue. People who have more should be putting in more.
Legalize marijuana. There's some revenue. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know there was a
I thought there was a line.
I also am grateful for all of your expertise and your experience. I'm here to share my experience. My husband was a clergy person. I'm a retired teacher. We didn't make a lot of money. We retired here back in Pennsylvania where we both grew up. And approximately 3 years ago, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And because of the Parkinson's, he took a bad fall, ended up in the hospital, in and out of the hospital, ambulances, all that stuff. And then it got to the point where I could not take care of him at home. So I was advised to seek out Medicaid, because we certainly couldn't pay $9,000 or $10,000 a month to have him have his care in a nursing home. So I did that. Applying for Medicaid is an arduous process. You go through many layers of applications until you get to like the mother of applications. And then you have to provide 5 years of tax returns, 5 years of credit of bank statements, housing information, utilities information. I mean, it goes on and on. It was such a big deal that there are actually 2 people in this room who helped me for 2 full days gather all the papers that I needed to make my application and pray to God that we would get Medicaid. Fortunately, we did. The reason I'm telling you this is because Medicaid, as it existed in the past, there are stringent requirements for a person applying and getting help. It doesn't just happen. And, so the rationale that I'm hearing, from Washington with the big, beautiful bill is that they're cutting Medicaid because people are, cheating the government, and, we need to, include, working requirements for people to get it. There's no way that I could have worked, nor my husband, certainly. So I'm grateful that Medicaid was available to us, in its full capacity, and it helped us get through his life. He died last March. It helped me to live in my house and not have to have problems. So I just question that. I don't think people were cheating the government getting Medicaid help. And I really think we just need to put that aside and help the people that need help.
Thank you for sharing your story. There's more people like the commissioner and his family that are not accessing because of whatever reason they have pride like you did. They don't know how to access it. You had people that helped you with the process and the denials. And I believe that we should be able to age. I'm a huge advocate for aging at home with dignity. That means that we have to do better at having home care, direct care workers, paying family members to be able to, if they need to leave their job and be able to take care of a family one, if you can. I mean, taking care of somebody that has Parkinson's or dementia or Alzheimer's, it's hard. It's really hard work, physically hard work, and sometimes your spouse or loved one can't do that because it's everything. It's bathing. It's dressing. It's helping with feeding, and it's hard. It's very difficult work to do, especially to provide it to someone that you love that's aging in a process with Parkinson's or dementia and those kind of disease processes. So it's hard. We have to do better. I don't want to criminalize people that need Medicaid. I mean, you can't do that to people. That's what the program is for, and that's when people need it most. And so I think we have to do better. Thanks for sharing your story, but and then you talked to the commissioner in a story about negotiating billing. I mean, I have a House bill for medical debt. People are afraid to get medical care because they're in medical debt, so they choose not to go and have preventative care. Then they end up in the emergency room with stage 4 colon cancer. They never had the colonoscopy, and now they are costing the healthcare system a lot more money. So it's a whole system of just errors that we're making in the healthcare world, and we're the best in the country. We have unbelievable wizards that are unbelievable healthcare providers, but we have communities that just don't know how to access it because it's not affordable to them. So it's hard. We have to do better.
Oh, there's another person.
Thank you all for being here today, especially the superintendent.
Turn it back on, yeah, there you go, yeah.
Thank you. Wallenpaupack Area School District was a gift to our family. We raised 4 children in this town. We have lived here for 40 years. We raised our children as the 7th generation, one of the original families in the Hawley area. So I appreciate the level of education that they received at the school district. Fantastic. All 4 of our sons are in public service. One, our oldest, got a master's degree, and he's in law enforcement on a federal level. Our second has a college degree, bachelor's degree also. He's a firefighter. Our third has a degree in social work, and he is a sheriff's deputy, unfortunately, in York County, where the shooting was the other day. And our fourth is an active duty military. So we raised 4 sons that are serving this country with 2 parents that have been married for 40 years. We're not lowlifes, we're not dirtbags. We raised healthy children in a clean, small community. Unfortunately, with the pay in this area for the jobs, and I've worked in this area continuously in Wayne and Pike counties for 40 years, and at $7.25 an hour, not only can you not qualify for health care, I have lived without health insurance for 30 years. I have not seen a doctor since my last child was born. And now as I'm approaching Medicare and Social Security, I'm being told by the system, sorry, you paid into it, but it's not going to be there for you. Because I cannot afford on what they're going to give me on Social Security when I've been making $7.25 an hour to pay for Medicare supplements or Advantage or anything. So I know if I get diagnosed with anything, I do not have the option of having health care. And this is what the reality is. Now I understand there's a lot of people in this area that make decent money, teachers in the school district, people who've owned businesses within their family for generations. Yes, they can do it. People who inherit inns and restaurants. Yes, doctors and lawyers, people in healthcare. But for the majority of people who are really working in this area, $7.25 an hour with no health care, no days off, no sick pay, and no vacations make it very difficult to live. But I was willing to do it, and I've done it for 40 years, but now it's my turn. And I want what I paid into the system, and now the system is telling me, oops, you're out of luck. Sorry, not you. So for the lady, not the last one who spoke, but there was a lady who had a question, and she wanted to know about people not voting the way it's called gaslighting. That's what it's called. It's called being gaslit. They say one thing, and then they vote in a different way. That's my story. Honest, hard-working people who've lived in this community for 40 years. And now there's no options for us. And unfortunately, now my husband and I are alone because our children had to leave this area to find jobs with their college educations and master's degree. Our oldest even served in the military when he was going to college. He did 2 tours overseas, one in Iraq and one in Afghanistan. Bronze medal, 2 bronze medals for his service to our country. And now his parents don't have an opportunity to retire. We're going to have to work until we die because we're going to have no health insurance and we can't live on Social Security. And our children had to move out of the area to get decent jobs. And now we're alone. And people say, well, just move, just move. You can't move. Where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna go? And I'm a realtor. I'm a realtor in this area. So I know what's happened. Right. The housing market in this area, the lower priced homes were bought up by a few families in this area with a lot of bucks who packed them full of people to work in their restaurants and whatnot, right? And those low-priced homes aren't being bought by kids, my kids' generation, the 30 and 40-year-olds that are looking to buy houses. It's not. Because the money is going to the same few families in this area. And I'm speaking the truth.
I thought.
Yep, nope, that's okay. Sorry, I'm not doing a good job at my job.
My name is Steve. I'm one of those assholes from New York. Moved here about 2 years ago. I live on Peggy Runway, so it's.
Can't hear you.
Oh, I live on Peggy Runway across the river from Narrowsburg. And the four of you have really bolstered my faith in people that, you know, do the kind of work that you do, public service, and you know, the corruption that is rampant in Washington and other places too, I guess, you know, really bothers me. But I especially appreciate, Bridget, you have a focus on elderly folks like me. We need all the help that we can get. And I'm glad to hear that you say that you have a decent or a good working relationship with Representative Bresnahan. I came here tonight specifically because I wanted to confront him for lying to all of us. I sent him a letter. He promised in writing and in words 3 times before voting on the bill, you know, that he wasn't gonna, I can't even repeat them, but that, you know, they were actual lies. And, you know, he's got to be held responsible for that, or accountable for that. And, you know, in the last several election cycles, I'm on Social Security. I'm fortunate enough to be working right now. But in the last few years, I've been spending a high percentage of my Social Security trying to get decent people like you, competent, capable people, honest people with integrity, to get people like you in office. And, you know, it's been costing me a lot of money, and I haven't been successful, you know, because a lot of very capable people, unfortunately, were not elected. And you know, after the passage of the big, beautiful bill, I wrote Rob Bresnahan a letter, you know, and that expressing my disappointment, and I pledged that I would do everything in my power to make sure that he is no longer in office, because I want people like you that are honest. And, you know, it's so hard because money, you know, that's what it takes these days, I guess. And, you know, it's a crying shame. I don't know what else to do, but, you know, I can tell that there are some like-minded folks here too. So, you know, I want you personally to take the message back to Rob that he is a liar, or he lied to us. I'm not going to say he's a chronic liar. And, you know, you can tell by what the rest of this room does. So send him that message, please. Thank you.
I'm getting better at this, you know?
That's supposed to be my job.
Sure, sure.
Or Donna be doing that.
I can take over. Hello, my name is Lindsay. It's so, all of these stories are worthy and it's so easy to get so negative. So it's a real breath of fresh air to hear you talk about what's coming to William Pike County and the positive things that are being worked on, and superintendent was talking about these programs for the kids that, like, we're the only people who don't have these facilities. And I was wondering about transportation. We're so spread out. Our own school district is more than 300 square miles.
Yes.
I grew up with kids that had an hour school bus ride to and from every single day. I was lucky enough to live closer, but I was wondering if there's any growth coming in that area. Are we gonna have more transportation options for these kids to get these opportunities that are so needed and positive, and you know, you can't outsource those jobs to somebody who fixes your car, somebody who fixes your water heater, somebody who pours your concrete, so like all those skilled labor things that we need. So I was wondering if we have anything coming that will help with access.
I'll take that. So, we were working on transportation. First of all, we do have a transportation department at the county. There is a pay schedule. And actually, anybody can use that transportation. It just ends up costing you more money. If you needed a ride somewhere, if you need a ride to the airport, if you need to get to the grocery store, you can actually call the transportation department, but the pay schedule that's set up in that transportation department is an escalating pay schedule that the younger you are, the more that you're gonna pay. The reason that we even have a transportation department is because it was set up originally for seniors. Pennsylvania Lottery provides for transportation for seniors. That actually, through PennDOT, that funding comes to buy the vehicles, pay the drivers, takes care of tires, it takes care of all the things that we do locally for repair, and actually is a pretty, really well-run transportation department. However, it is not something that the masses in Wayne County could use to get to work. We've had conversation with Colts, we've had conversations with some of the other big companies, and again, you know, our demographics work against us, and there's not enough of a population in Wayne County that are going in any one direction at any one time that mass transportation works. It just doesn't here. Mass transportation, I found out, is highly subsidized. There is an effort to get transportation here through Colts. They were here talking with us. However, it's not transpired so far, and I drive school bus. I drove school bus since I was 22 years old, and I can tell you that the amount of miles that we have in Wayne County, the amount of dirt roads that we have in Wayne County, Wayne County has more miles of dirt roads than any other county in the state of Pennsylvania. So, you know, it's just too many miles, and we're too spread out to make transportation feasible for any one company to come in here and make it work. We continue to, you know, explore these avenues, but the God's truth is we just haven't been able to find a company that can financially make that work yet.
One thing that I would just share as well, a crazy fact when you talk about how spread out we are and the amount of transportation that we have. Each day, the Wallenpaupack School District, in regards to buses, vans, when we do our morning runs, afternoon, late bus runs, 10,000 miles a day. 10,000 miles. Now, that does include special needs, you know, students that go to alternative placements, but 10,000 miles a day. So it is rather significant, and it is our largest barrier for students receiving mental health treatment, which kind of goes back to what I was saying before about how, you know, as a school district, we feel obligated to be a catch-all because it's the one time we know we can get students in our doors, and that's when we can feed them and take care of them, so the responsibilities continue to grow. One thing that you'll be hearing about in the near future is that We are going to be moving forward with our community health centers and actually creating a school-based medical program, a mobile lab. So many of our students, we're talking about insurance, and on the school perspective, I see that firsthand. In fact, many of our school counselors, we actually have them trained on how to log in and seek insurance, whether it's medical access or what have you, for the families, because in many cases the families just don't know. So we have our school counselors trained in this to be able to sit down with families, bring them in, and get the students the services they need. The mobile lab is a really neat idea because that's something that, again, we hear from kids, well, we're sick, we can't come to school, that kind of thing. We'll come to school and we'll get you in front of a doctor, problem solved. But we'll also be able to do that for our staff, and we'll also, to a limited ability, if there's openings, be able to work with our community as well. So having that is going to be a tremendous, tremendous benefit to our community, and we're so excited to work with our community health centers moving forward on that.
Okay, I got another one. There you go, Kathy.
Hi, Kathy. I have to tell you though, you were all been great and we appreciate the information, but this crowd is here because they need to hear things from you. As I was making a joke before, everyone came saying, okay, we just have to have enough information that people don't leave this place and go drink the Kool-Aid. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you've all given us information, but what we need is, I think, something to take back. That your recommendation, we've pulled this together, what we need to do specifically, because we're all scared. Everybody's scared. And we know you're doing everything that you can to work with that. But when we pull together these hopefully monthly gatherings, we just need to hear something. Do we need to talk with you more? We need to talk with someone else along with you? Who would you suggest that we pull into it? But I want everybody in this room to leave with some kind of information that can give a direction, and I think you've given a lot of that with what we need to do, but more specific, how we can really move ahead with it. And with your recommendations, maybe how we can improve what we're putting on here. But I don't want anyone here to leave and not feel like they've learned. I know we've all learned a lot of stuff, really. It's been great tonight. Thank you all for doing what you're doing, because I can't imagine what your life is like. But if you can, I think there's more direction we need a little bit about what each one of you thinks we can do as a community to support what you're doing. No, I'm not giving you the mic. You are last. No, but what we can do to move ahead with things and support what you're doing without just visiting with you maybe once in a while, okay?
Thank you for that. From my seat, I would go back. It was my credit card I left at the bar.
I just gotta say it. So you're buying?
That's right.
I thought that was going to be an ice raid.
Yeah, that was. So it's kind of like saying, okay, it's Christmas time, and you can tell Santa what you want, and he's going to deliver. So I feel like he just gave me the Santa Claus list. But I'm going to narrow it down to two things that I would ask folks in this room to do, specifically to the healthcare sector. Pay attention to individuals that are going to support telehealth services, okay, with no restrictions to the degree of, well, it's this. We need the approval for broad telehealth, and let the Department of Health control what is reasonable that can be safely provided, okay? And it has to be reasonable. Not everything can be telehealth. I can't take your appendix out over the television, okay? But I sure as heck can look at you, examine you, listen to your heart, listen to your lungs, and we can bring specialty services to rural communities and to people's area. Broadband's a problem, but even if there's central points where people can go, we can shorten the distance of transportation. So telehealth, please pay attention to that. It's critical to healthcare survival in Pennsylvania going forward. We need to provide healthcare differently than we are today, and we are not doing enough of it. The second thing I'll tell you, go to the Hospital Association of Pennsylvania, HAP. Look at what they're supporting. I will tell you, the majority of the time, what they're doing is supporting our rural hospitals. We have to remember, those folks are supporting all hospitals in Pennsylvania. So sometimes what they're supporting may not be 100% good for rural, but there are rural spaces on that website. Pay attention to them, and if you have questions, 253-8100, you can talk to me, I'll tell you what it is. We guide through. So they would be the two things I would ask this group to do. Pay attention to HAP's website in the healthcare arena. Usually, like I said, it's supportive and it's doing what we need to. And then again, support telehealth in any person who is looking to run for that office. It is critical to Pennsylvania's healthcare moving forward.
Thank you.
So thank you for that question to end the evening, I guess, right? So what you're doing tonight is important. Us listening is important, but getting more people at the table here. More representatives at the federal level. I know you invited the congressmen, you invited the senators. The letter writing, I will tell you, in my office, just me, I pay attention to lots of letters coming from constituents saying, hey, Bridget, we do not like this. We are very concerned about this. Pay attention to this. And that's what triggers. You coming to the office, you sending letters, you making phone calls, you going, taking a road trip to Harrisburg and knocking on our doors, getting organized and really zeroing in and lasering in on, now you're talking about just a 30,000 foot up here, this entire federal environment and the bill itself, the big beautiful bill that we talked about a lot tonight. There's lots of different aspects in that, but just making them pay attention that you are not happy. And I hate to say this, but it's political parts. We're gonna come after you. We're gonna get groups to not support you. We're gonna be social media about it. It does, as an elected, when people do that to me, it frightens me to the point where I want to say, well, how can I fix this? Because I really want to stay in my seat, but my constituents are not happy, they do not like me, and they're going to run somebody against me. That unfortunately sometimes is the only way to really, get their attention and to pay attention to something that's happening, but it takes a lot of work. It's organization, it's hard. I give you an enormous amount of credit for doing this, because it's on you. You're not getting paid for this. It's on you to continue to make people in your environment, your friends and your family, to go out and vote, super important, register to vote, but make them be informed voters. Make them understand who they're voting for and why. It's unfortunately on you to keep us informed. Have another one of these, invite other representatives to come up here and speak to you. It's important. So this is what I would say. Letter writing, phone calls, road trips down to Harrisburg.
So many times we hear, with the youth of today, our future is bleak. That is not what I see each and every day. What I would encourage each and every one of you to do is to come and visit us. I truly believe in the seeing is believing philosophy. We have open houses twice a year, one time in the fall, one time in the spring, where we invite our community to come in and tour all of our CT programs. The tours are done by our student ambassadors. Each of the CT programs, the discussions are held by our students, because nobody can be as honest as our students, I will tell you that. They will answer your questions honestly. But I truly see a lot of hope and a lot of greatness in our students. And of course, every system, every school, there are difficulties, there are challenges. But I think that your eyes would be greatly opened, and you would leave our school with a lot of promise and understanding as to the direction of where we're going in Wayne and Pike County, because this is not going to just impact one small area. We truly believe that this is going to have a tremendous economic impact on our region, and I know our students would love to interact with their community. They feel valued when they're visited. Unfortunately, last February we had a very low turnout. So what I would like to do is to be able to maybe send an email out to maybe one of the organizers here tonight when we have those dates picked out, if that's okay, and share it with our community. And we would love to have you and welcome you to our school, meet our students and our programs. Thank you so much.
Kathy, you have the mic. What do you do?
So I will tell you this. given my father the same criticism when he asked me, why did this legislator do this? Why are our legislators allowing this to happen? I did say to him, have you ever talked to your legislator? Well, no. Did you ever go to Harrisburg? Did you ever go to the office here in Honesdale or Hawley? No, I haven't. I said, well, I have. And here's my advice. Go tell them how you're feeling. Tell them what you're thinking. And not only tell them what you think the problem is, maybe offer a solution. And make sense. Don't just go in there and yell. Because you got 15 minutes. And guess what? When you walk out of there, there's somebody else walking in there with a different issue. And they got 15 minutes. And this happens to our legislators all day, every time they have office hours. Don't just go yell. Don't just go air your grievances. Offer some solutions. And this is the last thing I'm going to talk about. And I think that this really needs everybody's attention. Because when you consider the amount of money that it takes to run for a political office above this lady's office, it is completely ridiculous. And I would say that we're in a situation where, do we have the best candidates that can represent us, or are we just stuck with the financial higher echelon who can afford to run for those positions? That does not give us leadership. That does not give us people who live like you and I, who can represent our struggles, our needs, our concerns. That gives us people who don't even have the ability to relate to the problems that we have. And that's what part of the problem is today. Thank you.
Campaign finance reform, huge.
Yeah.
Totally support it. It's out of control. Citizens United. Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay, I think it is quite late. Everybody has hung in here and contributed. I appreciate your energy so much. Now I'm going to threaten you with a little story of my own. And I think this will be nice for closure. Jim took us back to 1965. Okay, I'm going to take us back a lot further than that. I'm going to take us back to the Stone Age. And I want each of you to imagine that you're a Klan leader. And you're a very, very successful Klan leader. And you cooperate with the natural world. You find peace. You find joy in living. And then one day, some wolves come into your territory, into your hunting area. And your Klan members are saying, those wolves are threatening us. We are going to kill all of those wolves. And then they look at you and they say, right, you're going to approve of this? And you're thinking, well, I usually teach cooperation with nature. But everybody says, no, we're going to kill those wolves. So you go for a little walk, you think about it. Then when you come back, you call a Klan meeting. And you said, here's the plan. First of all, tonight, when the wolves begin to come and it's dark, we got our fire, we're going to form a circle. And every other warrior is going to be looking out with their spears. And the ones in between are going to come in where the fire is. They're going to eat, they're going to sleep, they're going to socialize. So we will be safe and we will be balanced. But we're not going to kill the wolves. We're going to feed the wolves. So we have just made some big kills. We don't know how to preserve meat. It's only good for a couple of days. So you get up and you throw some meat outside of the circle, and the wolves, of course, come to eat the meat. After a period of time, the wolves are dependent on your clan. Pretty soon, they're protective of your clan. It's all working, and then there's one more step. One day, you open the circle a little bit. You don't know how much you can trust these wolves, and you let some of the light out. You let the wolves feel the warmth and see the light, and you only throw the meat into the light, and then they come to the light, and soon they become your domesticated animals, and they help you hunt, and you are truly protecting one another. So in that, what I'm saying is we don't have to just work harder, we have to think differently. And if you guys are like most people that I talk to, when I said, I'm gonna kill the wolves, you probably said, damn right. That's what we do. But think, if there's another way to conceive of that, cooperate, and you'll survive. You can't kill all the wolves. You can cooperate with all the wolves. Okay, thank you everybody for coming. I think it's a good night.